All right, so we've moved on from connective tissues, and now we're going to go over muscle tissues. There's 3 different types of muscle tissue. Smooth muscle tissue, skeletal muscle, and cardiac muscle tissue. Smooth muscle is what lines all of our vessels and makes up some of our internal organs. Cardiac muscle is found in only one place, you guessed it, the heart itself. Skeletal muscle is different because it is the only muscle in charge of voluntary movement. Voluntary meaning I scratch my nose, or I use my legs to run, or use my arm to pick something up. Smooth muscle, do I have any control over whether or not my blood vessels are going to push blood to my tissues? Not through my brain, right? So it's unconscious and involuntary. Same thing with cardiac muscle, but cardiac, because it's the heart, has a different type of cell. And you'll get into that next semester. But for our purposes today, we're going to look at these different actual tissues. This is one of my favorite. I love the actual pictures of the tissues. They're so pretty. But what we're going to concentrate on is actually over here on the left side, right? So that's where we're going to zoom in at, 10x, 40x lens. Notice how smooth this is. There's not a lot of lines in between anything. These cells look like they're all hanging out, go in the same direction, but they have plenty of space. Except for these guys, they're in a conga line. Don't worry about them. Most of these cells, though, look like they have plenty of space in between them, right? They're not sharing anything except the row they're on. Smooth muscle. Okay. Next, right here, right? We have skeletal muscle. Yep, okay. Just double checking myself. Skeletal muscle. What you'll see in between, okay, so there's 1 or 2 nuclei hanging out right there. But see in between these how all the nuclei look like they're on I-35 in bumper-to-bumper traffic? And for the most part, these muscular fibers right here, right, are all by themselves right there in the center. And then again, another bumper-to traffic. Okay? You can actually even see a little bit of fat right there. Where do you think we're going to have more fat at? In the skeletal section or the cardiac section? Hopefully the skeletal section, right? We don't want fat around our heart. The other thing that gives this away, right? Where this guy is all nice and smooth and going one direction, even though these guys are all going one direction, if you look close, especially like right here, you'll see these little striations coming across the tissues. So they're at a 90 degree angle to our muscle fibers. And it almost reminds me of like a fish, right? Those little lines that go across. If you come down here to our cardiac muscle, notice, first of all, that there are no fat cells. This is a good heart. The other thing you'll notice is, unlike I-35, this guy has all these funky brakes that go in kind of whichever direction they want. Okay? The other thing to notice is, even though we have some right here in these clear spaces, nuclei, right? For the most part, these nuclei, once again, are pretty much by themselves. Something it does have in common with the skeletal tissue are these striations. Again, these striations go at a 90-degree angle to the actual muscle fibers, right? And they just kind of bloop, bloop, bloop. One thing that sets it apart, another thing that's going to set it apart from the skeletal tissue is, and I'm looking for them, these guys are sometimes harder to spot on these slides. Let me see if I can find you a good one. Perfect. I'm actually going to go around it. See this guy right here? So he's right here in the middle. That is your disc. All of your cardiac muscle will have those. There's another one right there. Once you start looking for them and you know what you're looking for, they're usually easier to find. But not always. So those are your discs. And that we're going to go ahead and do nervous tissue real quick because it's a single slide, right? This is nervous tissue. It's the one-eyed, one-horned, flying purple people eater. He's, for our purposes, he's almost always stained purple, right? This whole thing is a neuron. This part right here is the cell body, also known as the soma. That little dark spot right at the dead center, his one eye, is the nuclei. And these guys are our axons and dendrites. For your purposes, you don't have to tell axons and dendrites apart yet. But dendrites receive information from several different places. The axon is the telephone wire that sends that information on to the brain. And that is our last video.